All right, is everyone good? No, let me pull up the timer. I just woke up. Yeah. We're good? Constructed is starting now on my first one. Because the US economy is weighed down by the burden of student loan debt, Pranav and I affirm resolve the United States federal government should forgive all federal student loan debt. First, an observation. Right now, student loan debt is at an all-time high. CFR 22 finds that student debt has doubled in the past 2 decades to $1.6 trillion. That's detrimental, as Vincent Yao of the Center for Economic Policy Research in 2019 quantifies that 44 million graduates hold student debt, with amounts averaging over $30,000. Unfortunately, current programs like Biden Save program are not doing anything to help. Adam Minsky of Forbes magazine from October finds that loan services have miscalculated payments for over 400,000 people because the program is understaffed, overworked, and backlogged. In addition, Kevin Carey from August this year finds that the program spreads payments over longer periods of time and thus only increases total interest payments. In fact, the very premise of these programs make it almost impossible to apply for. Thornton 23 finds that people must provide personal documents, complete lengthy and confusing applications, and regularly update their information. In fact, more than 40% of people who applied said they had trouble getting benefits. Thus, programs like SAVE are doomed to fail. Vox 23 writes that the Supreme Court has given every indication that it does not want loan forgiveness programs. This is exactly why Biden's Repay and Heroes programs got shut down. And the same will happen to the current SAVE program. Crucially, Hansen 23 observes that debt forgiveness would lift over 5.2 million American households out of poverty, while simultaneously reducing the debt burden for tens of millions more. Moreover, Stephanie Kelton of the Levi Institute in 2018 notes that national economic gains would be tremendous, as debt cancellation could boost GDP by over $1 trillion in the next 10 years. Because of this, the New York Times found that the best and only option now is a one-time full debt forgiveness. That is why canceling all student loan debt is crucial for two key reasons. The first key reason is supporting small businesses. Small businesses are declining, as Zebra 23 finds new business creation declined by almost 50% in the last 30 years. That's because of student loans. The Roosevelt Institute in 2022 indicates that 50% of young entrepreneurs reported that student loans affected their ability to start a business. Overall, debt burdens have caused 2 million fewer businesses to be formed from 2006 to 2015. Indeed, Kelton 18 explains that starting a business requires capital, which depends on personal debt. Because student loan debt appears as a negative net worth, students with high debt balances and monthly payments find it more difficult to accumulate startup capital. Affirming is the only way to solve, as canceling student debt allows graduates to have more capital to start businesses. That's key, as the Office of Advocacy in 2019 reported that small businesses create two-thirds of new jobs, account for 44% of our GDP, and drive US innovation and competitiveness. And Fuller 18 finds that small businesses create 1.5 million new jobs each year. Supporting small businesses also dramatically decreased poverty, as the economists find that for every 1% increase in GDP, poverty decreases by 1.7%. The second key reason is more mobility. Sarah Weissman of Inside Higher Ed in 22 explains that currently students are denied college enrollment or future further education due to doubts about their financial security. Specifically, 38% of students don't enroll because of the possible cost of debt. Fortunately, forgiveness would focus on low-income communities, as Jessica Dickler in 2023 writes that low and middle income households will get the bulk of benefits, since households with annual income below $82,000 would receive nearly three-fourths of total forgiveness funds. Critically, CNBC 22 says that forgiveness prompts re-enrollment. Nearly half of students who stopped their education before finishing said they would re-enroll if their student loans were forgiven. In fact, Fawcett 22 finds forgiveness is intergenerational, and when people see that their family members have degrees and went to college, they themselves are more incentivized to enroll themselves and finish a degree. Overall, Helena Holman of Oxford University in 23 concludes that education policy can break the strong ties between family background and socioeconomic position by providing accessible education. Education is a key domain for shaping social mobility, given the life-changing impacts a university degree can have. Eval after the 1AC. Tell us to fight the flames of crushing student debt and save students affirm.
Okay, let me get the doc ready. That's
All right.
sent.
It's just finals neg, right?
Yeah.
Wait, actually, you need sec to open it.
What?
I just need a sec to open it. Oh,
Okay. Uh, it's gonna be on the random trick that they read at the end of case, and um, yeah, the random trick at the end of case, and then I'll read my case. On the trick, don't evaluate it. It's dumb. Obviously, you have to evaluate the entire round before doing anything. There's no warranting. You can't buy it. Onto our case. Contention one is harming the future. Federal program solves student debt now. Gillen 22 writes, unaffordable college student loans have all been solved as income-driven repayment programs were established. These programs eliminate default. Universal forgiveness would reinvent the wheel. Affirming flips the script in two ways. First is moral hazard. Debt relief triggers a lending boom. Fullweiler 18 writes, without a change to our current system of private responsibility for higher education, households will take on more debt. Debt relief today could change the incentives of future students. That applies to everyone. Gillen 22 argues forgiveness would encourage future students to make less of an effort to constrain expenses. Instead of a third of students borrowing, virtually all students would. And instead of striving to minimize debt, students would borrow as much as possible. Empirics prove. Anselm 19 confirms the public student loan forgiveness program yielded many more students who took on far more debt. Second is raising the roof. Lenders would hedge against possible future cancellations. Huffman 20 writes, broad forgiveness jeopardizes lenders in the future because they would assume the huge risk of possibly losing out on the expected money at any time. For lenders who do continue issuing student loans, they would have to mitigate the risk of forgiveness with extremely high interest rates, strict requirements, or structure loans that maximize the chances of repayment, all of which are undesirable to student loan borrowers. If Washington doesn't raise rates, future loans will become insolvent. Huffman continues, funding for forgiveness must be enough to also leave money to continue lending for future students. If the federal government would have to finance the cancellation of $1.5 trillion of debt, it raises serious doubts regarding funds left to loan over to future students. This causes a credit collapse. McCloud 22 writes, cheap credit fueled real estate prices leading to a bubble that burst less than 2 decades ago. Forgiveness will amplify negative consequences. Increased borrowing would also collapse the NASDAQ. Contention 2 is Court Cloud. Court filings are down over the past year. Strickler 22, the judiciary released new data showing huge drops in filings across court systems. The theme is a major slump across every part of the federal judiciary. Across all districts, filings dropped 27%. Affirming would spark a plethora of court filings at multiple levels for multiple reasons. Numerous warrants. Hell Hosty and Haverstock 23. That really has landed America's highest court. Justices peppered questions about legal standing. Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, South Carolina jointly claimed Biden's debt relief would harm states. Forgiveness would also be viewed as unconstitutional. Lotus 23, NCLA filed a lawsuit against a new relief plan. The NCLA is arguing the plan violates the Constitution's appropriations clause. Preliminary injunctions lead student loan forgiveness never happens. Really 22 finds that student debt forgiveness would be killed by the courts before debt relief. A federal court issued a preliminary injunction on preventing the program from moving forward. The program would be put on hold. Court Club collapses effective governance. Trust, innovation, and frivolous litigation. Deloitte 19 finds that backlogs reduce investment in innovation in entire economy. Backlogs also reduce confidence in government. Long wait times further erode confidence in government. Kirk 6 explains an increased caseload will delay appeals, which will cause uncertainty over patent and trademark rights and interfere with investments in innovation. Innovation holds the key to a sustainable future. Evans 22, 50% of US GDP is attributed to innovation. It solves every extinction scenario. Q et al. 22 finds that challenges threatening a sustainable future for our planet. Deforestation, climate change, and biodiversity loss. Without innovation, it's possible to meet these challenges and achieve sustainable development. Goals for corporate innovation run parallel and can facilitate these processes for the sake of sustainable development. Contention 3 is emerging markets. Inflation and interest rates are on their way down. Duggan 23 writes, in October, inflation will average just 2.6 next year. The path is clear for the Fed to cut rates to an average of 3.9% in 2025 and 2.9% in 2026. However, forgiving student loans would reverse this. Looney 21 quantifies forgiving all student loans will cost $1.6 trillion. This would have to be through deficit financing. Krugman 23 writes, there's no possibility for major spending cuts. Conservatives always want to cut taxes. Democrats aren't willing to take the political heat for proposing tax hikes. Consequently, interest rates will interest rates will rise. CRS 2008 finds that to finance a deficit, the government has to increase interest rates, quantifying that a deficit equal to 1% of GNP could increase interest rates 1.2 percentage points. Unfortunately, Capretta 18 explains high levels of federal spending diverts significant amounts of available global capital away from emerging market economies into the purchase of U.S. Treasury secretaries. This year's the tipping point. Al Jazeera 23 reports 15% of low-income countries are already in debt. An additional 45% are near. The IMF said that persistently high interest rates were threatening global financial security, which is why the World Bank 17 quantifies that a 1%, a 100 basis point increase in the U.S. bonds reduces capital flows to emerging markets by 20 to 45%. Skip the next card. Consequently, Solomon 12 finds that the rapid efflux of capital has played a significant role in the financial crises of the last 30 years.
You didn't read the Thomas evidence, right?
No.
Okay, cool. So we good for cross?
Yeah, sure. You can take first question.
Okay, thanks. Time will start on my first. Could you explain the point two about raising the roof? Could you explain that argument? Like, how exactly does that work?
So basically, when we forgive all federal student loan debt, a lot of banks are going to question whether or not this is going to happen again. So what they want to happen is that when they give out a loan, they're going to make it so that you want to pay back the loan as fast as humanly possible. So they're going to raise interest rates. They're going to make loans way more selective. They're going to make loans like way more selective, and they're going to they're just going to make it like way harder for certain people to get loans. Can I take a question?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
All right. So on your point about mobility, right?
Yeah.
How does this perception thing work?
So this perception thing works basically when like let's say future like prospect students see their family members or people they know in college who are suffering from debt, right? Well, obviously they're going to be scared that they'll end up like those in debt, so they don't want to go to college. But the thing is, when we forgive debt, they see like, oh, now they're good now, so then they'd also want to join college. So
But
can I take a question?
but a quick follow-up, isn't that not the case? Because there would be a physical barrier to them going to college because the resolution's a one-time thing. Sure, they might see their family members, but if they're not in college yet, they don't have debt. So when they go to college, they're going to have all the debt. But you can take your question.
Here, let me respond to that and I'll take a question. So first, it's not just like perception, but it also leads to generational wealth. I mean, like when people go back into college, they'll get better education, be able to have like more wealth, like a better life overall, because like education just simply leads to a better life. But like we can respond to that more in like a rebuttal or summary in the future. But I'll take a question now. So could you explain why this resolution specifically is unconstitutional? Because you mentioned that, but that evidence applied to the Biden plan.
It doesn't matter whether or not it is actually unconstitutional. The entire point is that people think that it's unconstitutional, so they're going to sue in order.
So why would people think it's unconstitutional if it's like helping them?
What?
So like why would people think this resolution is unconstitutional?
Because they think that it would be violating the Constitution's appropriations clause.
Okay, you can take a question.
That's the warranting that's given in our Lonus 23 card. All right. Yeah. So on your second argument again, you're talking about people who don't enroll in, like, people aren't enrolling in college because there's too much like debt, right?
Right.
So do those people have debt right now?
Okay, no, the argument is that mobility is mainly about re-enrollment too. It's not just like more people enroll, but it's also about re-enrollment. Like 50% of dropouts said they would re-enroll if they didn't have this debt problem. But that's cross. Good cross. Thanks.
All right. I'm compiling the doc. I'm getting the doc downloaded. Give me a second. Okay. It should just be called. It's just called finals doc.
The trick you read was not in the doc, right?
No, it was analytic.
It was? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, order is going to be advantage at the top down on case. Or actually, I'm gonna take like 2 seconds. All right, that was 6 seconds. Let me join. All right, is anyone not ready? Advantage. Trump's winning. Loss come from the 9th of December. Both poll show that Biden with the lowest approval rating of his presidency. Trump leading by 4 points when independents are included. Trump leads expenses 6. Biden advancing his age will turn off voters. Indictment of Hunter places obstacles. Trump leading Republican nomination by 50 points. Biden needs to cancel debt. Wells 22. Biden had the message of bipartisan consensus and the majority of all voters in the country and cancel all federally held student loan debt. Canceling canceling turns the election to Biden. Wells 22. More than 6 in 10 voters support cancellation. Even those who never attend college, 27% of independent voters will not vote for Biden if he does not cancel the student loan debt, and 21% of Democrats agree if Trump wins the House Climate Star 19. Climate change demands an immediate action. Trump has plans to cancel existing climate forms and pull the U.S. out of agreements with, while encouraging other countries to do nothing. Parenting the runaway global trade existential. Expected 19 by 2050, the world's actually been brutal crowds kill. The planet funded the feedback loop of ever hotter deadly conditions on conflict over resources, culminating in nuclear war likely resulted in the end of human civilization. One, climate change certificate to try or die resource order. Countries are forced to use nuclear weapons in order to get existential resources, food, water, gas, and oil, which not only links to their impact on nuclear war. Skip the rest of that analytic. Two, NATO. Okay, skip the second one too. On case proper. At the top, you can turn incentivizing government loans is better than incentivizing private loans. July 20. Students would benefit from taking out more loans. The private market is unlikely to provide students with loans at affordable terms per numbers of reasons, i.e., they can't collateralize information about creditworthiness. It's hard to attain absent a government program. A lot of good educational investments won't ever be made too. Even if this happened, more people borrowing still better on balance than 2018. Students who borrowed attended more courses, earned more credit, and had higher grade point average. Also, per our own Boston evidence, that definitely mitigates the moral hazard point because it says that there's really generational wealth and the influence of their family members. There's more people going to college and more people finishing their degree, which mitigates the effects of the moral hazard. On the sub point, on their raising the roof argument, it doesn't make that much sense because the Fed giving you loans. It's not like the amount of people getting private loans is really, really low, so the impact is negligible at best. On clocks. One, you need this overwhelmingly either backlogging so low the link isn't enough to trigger the impact, or the impact is inevitable and error heavily half insofar as they haven't isolated how much backlog causes how much backlog the app causes what's sufficient to trigger the impact. Two, courses are already clogged and literally been historically clogged. They're all causing Deborah 23 courts are overburdened under research and systems, creating a perfect storm of delays, backlogs, and workforce shortages. The most common reason for delays was the failure to appear course. 58% of course faced workforce shortages, 58% staffing budget decrease, 44% backlogs have increased. Three, congestional equilibrium means clogging is inevitable as delay decreases the amount of cases will increase violent at all 17. Congestional equilibrium accounts for the fact that reforms aimed at reducing delays to appear to only affect temporarily effective. Changes in litigation volume affect the settlement negotiations of the party, generating equilibrium. And of course, congestion declines, more disputes proceed to courts, and course congestion increases back towards equilibrium levels. On C3, a couple of problems. One, you didn't read the impact evidence on the dog. Don't let them read it later. There's like no terminalized impact, but either way, there's no impact in deficit spending. McElwee, 18, rest of the economy is operating below full employment, misguided tight fiscal and monetary policy prevented economic growth, total productive capacity shrinking dramatically relative to mid-2000. Over these several years, we had large swings in the deficit with no effect on government's borrowing. It's a good time for the government to take on a debt to invest in the future. Two, we can just raise the cash fist back in 19. Senator set to vote on a budget capital that would avoid billions in spending cuts to bill. HR 3087 3877 would definitely end the threat of sequestration by raising the caps. Because the card there, skip the empiric. One, you need to dispose of Weissman from 2 days ago concluded even despite recent short-term growth. Weissman from November 29th. The global economy is expected to falter next year. International growth would slow. The U.S. econ to expand just 1.5% in 2024. Federal Reserve interest rate increase continue to restrain with. You can turn it though because the restart of loan payments increased in inflation concerns. Prefer the evidence from 6 days ago. Prefer the evidence from October. High inflation took a toll on American attitude as many began to pay student loans. Consumer sentiments fell. Index fell. 7% of American moods toward the economy are influenced by current events, including the restart of student loan payments. I can send a mark doc.
Yeah, Mark Doc would be helpful.
Yeah. You miss it. Okay. All right, it's just called finals dog mark.
I'll start running prep when I. Okay.
How much was that?
What? Oh, that's 143, I think. All right. Gonna be my case, then my case, then their case, and I'll talk about the advantage first.
So it's case or advantage, your case, ours.
My case,
Oh.
advantage, your case.
Okay, so is there a doc?
I'll send it after because half it's like analytics.
All right, that's true.
All right. On moral hazard, they say that government loans are better than private. This concedes that people are just going to be borrowing more loans, which gets us into the same situation in the first place. This cuts them off from all of their offense because the entire point of their argument is that there's so much student loan debt, but it's only going to happen because people keep on taking out more loans from the government. They say that more people borrowing is good. No, it's not. No, it's not. When they call us, no, it's not because people have to keep on taking out loans. That's why the CRFP finds that the student loan crisis is just going to repeat itself in 2026, even if we do something now. What this means for their case is that they're not actually affecting anyone. They're not actually affecting anyone past 2026. In 3 years, they have literally no solvency for the rest of time. On raising the roof, they make just one response by saying that private loans. They say that private loans are low. Private loans are like it's just private loans. It wouldn't spill over to it's just private loans. No, it's perceptual because when they see that the government is going to forgive people taking out people taking out all sorts of loans, then the banks don't know when this is going to happen for them, meaning that they're going to have to hedge their bets and start making sure that people pay back the loan on time before anything happens. We'll concede all the defense. We'll concede all the defense on core clock, and I'll concede that there's no impact on the C4, which kicks out of all the turns. They say that payments equals inflation. No, read the evidence. It's just general attitudes about the economy. It says literally nothing. It says literally nothing about it. It says literally nothing about it. It says nothing about inflation. On their advantage, Israel's a thumper. Most people, Basu from last month with Post states all their evidence says that most people see Israel and Palestine as more of a key issue than student loan debt forgiveness, meaning that all the voters are already lost, meaning that even if Biden does something about student loan debt, they're still going to vote against him because of his stance on the Israel-Palestine conflict, meaning that it's just terminally non-unique. Biden's just not going to get elected. On their case proper, start with the observation first. Turn is stopping alternatives. Carball 23 finds that Biden approved debt relief for 125,000, doubling $9 billion in forgive. The program forgive promised relief for low income borrowers. Affirming detracts. Looney 21 finds that prioritizing spending on targeted programs will be a more effective way to achieve goals. It will also benefit loan borrowers as well as many who don't have student loans. Prefer probably lower income students are more likely to suffer less from less opportunities than richer ones. Short circuits their odds because affirming stops current programs that are solving right now. They say that Save is bad right now. It only gets worse to be affirmed because there's less money going there, so they're even more understaffed. And it's just a new program. It was launched a few months ago. It's just like Obamacare. It's just going to get better over time. It's just going to get better over time. Turn it again because it just pushes the burden onto future college students. EI 21 writes that education's cost skyrocketed in the years following the launch of college costs are just going to skyrocket. That's where the McCluskey evidence comes in, because for every $1 in subsidized student loans, it causes 60 cents in the increase in college prices. On the C1, right now, small businesses are booming. U.S. Chamber of Commerce 23 finds that there are 33.2 million small businesses in America. 99% of all U.S. firms are small businesses. Two, turn a cancellation decreases business' ability to hire, hurting them in the long run. Sammer 22. Employers provide student loan repayment benefits, adding important opportunity to differentiate themselves. Attrition rates among employees participating are 75% lower. New hires said the benefit was a major factor in their decision to join the company. Two implications: business become less competitive, and two, workers become less productive. Turn it again. Cancellation harms business productivity. Wharton 21. A fixed subsidies unable to do the decline in entrepreneurs. Policy intervention can make things worse. Interventions have to be funded by tax increases, and new firms may not be productive in decline. This means that there's going to be more economic loss than actual gain, meaning that there's less generational wealth being built up. On their argument talking about inequality and opportunities, College 23 finds that income inequality is on the decline. Now to declines in household income in the middle of top brackets between 2021 and 2022. Second, student loan forgiveness pulls money away from more critical programs. Bauman Looney 21, forgiving student loan debt would transfer larger than the amount the nation has spent over the past 20 years on employment insurance or on food stamps. Catherine Yanulis 22 finds that every dollar spent on student loan forgiveness means that the government will need to cut funding from other important programs that poor families rely on. The Census Bureau finds that the number of people kept out of poverty because of Social Security is 45.4 million. Because Social Security is the biggest link in the round when it comes to stopping poverty, you prefer it on scope because it affects everyone on poverty, not just people with student loans. I'll send the bark dog.
All right.
Right, sent it.
Is it
Called
just
It's just called
oh,
Finals 2C.
all right? And let me just open it up and I can start this. Okay. Is it chill if I take the first question?
Sure.
Okay, I found. All right. What's like the implication? I just like don't get it that much. Like, what's like the implication of it being like a perceptual thing and banks like reinforcing like loans or whatever, like making
So
sure
if the US federal government were to just say, hey, we're just going to I know you took out a loan, I'm just going to forgive it, the banks are going to be very scared because they don't know if this is going to happen again in a different industry, in like a different context. So they want to make sure that people pay back their debts as fast as possible by one, making it harder for them to get a loan in the first place, and two, making the interest rates really high to incentivize it. Can I take a question?
Wait, really? This is like a clarifying question. Where's like the thumper you read on?
That was an analytic.
Oh, it's an analytic.
But
Okay. All right, that's fine. You can have a
like
question.
I can send the evidence because it was from a different round. But
Okay.
okay.
I'll just check the evidence after we're done with this.
Yeah. All right. So actually, yeah. Let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
is student loan debt forgiveness like the biggest reason people aren't voting for Biden right now?
I think we think it is. Like we're obviously going to say that student loan debt, or even if it's not the biggest reason, we would say that for specific populations, which you have not mentioned, we think it's the reason that they're not voting for Biden. Like we think like you have not isolated a specific reason as to why Israel thumbs. We would say that student loan debt is more. It's like more important for specific populations. Like obviously there's
Well, no,
populations,
we
i.e.
said
like the
we
old like
no.
i.e. like the older conservative population. Obviously they're not going to be voting for Biden, regardless of what he does with student loan. But we will say that the younger population is enough to swing the election.
No, the implication that I made was that I said that among Democrats, they're being more disillusioned with Biden more so because of Israel rather than student loan debt. Meaning that even if he does something about student loan debt, Israel still tells them no, Israel's still like no, I'm not voting for Biden. But you can take a question.
Sure. Okay, I guess we can talk about okay, we can talk about the McCluskey evidence. If a subsidized loan, i.e., like a loan where the government pays off the interest rate while the student is in college, but then stops doing anything else after that, how does that apply to the app?
Because that 1.7 trillion still accounts for interest. There's still interest on all those loans, so the government would still be paying back that interest. So it's still a subsidized loan.
Wait, no, but that's not what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, like subsidized loans happen in either world because the government will subsidize a
No,
certain.
it's forgiven. It's a forgiven It's a forgiven subsidized
That's
loan.
not what the evidence. That's not wait. The McCluskey evidence just says subsidized loans. Where does it say forgiven subsidized loans?
Like what I mean is that when it says subsidized, it means the government's just paying it back. It's just paying back all 1.7 trillion dollars, which includes interest at once. But that's cross.
Let me call Victor and take prep. Oh wait. Oh, before I take prep, can I just see the evidence?
Yeah.
Pranav, can you comment?
Yeah, I'll call him after
Okay.
I'll call you after we get the evidence.
Are you taking prep?
No, I'm just waiting for the
No, I'm sending.
For
I'm
the
sending.
sending the
Yeah.
evidence.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's just called F.
Let me pull it up. Okay. Let me just open it and then I'll call Victor. We'll run prep. Okay, sit. Okay.
Leave your message for
Victor, pick it.
9-8.
No, not that, not that. Here, you come.
I'm calling you right now. Okay.
We'll start prep now.
2:55 starts.
Okay, that's time. So, um, I don't think it'll be too fast. I'll send a doc after, but I don't think it'll be too fast to need a doc right now.
No, there's no doc. There's no cards.
Okay. No, yes. Okay. Um, is everyone good? Cool. So Tom will start on my first word. Actually, the order of the speech is going to be entering the turns you read, our case, weighing their case. Cool. Tom will start on my first word. First, to answer his turns, he has 4 turns. The first one is that there's going to be more burden on the future because college tuition is going to go up. His only thing to support that is the McCluskey evidence, but the McCluskey evidence is actually bad. In fact, nowhere in that evidence do the words forgiving student loans show up at all. Instead, the evidence talk about subsidizing student loans, which is not even close to the same thing. That's why you prefer our Edelman study, which does a 25-year historical analysis about actually canceling student loan debt, which find that colleges are not for-profit firms, and when student loan debts are canceled, tuition prices do not go up. Now, his second and third are all about small businesses. Group both turns. His uniqueness overwhelms the league. If small businesses are booming so much right now, then it definitely kicks out of the turns because the app only does so much. Now, four, she says that there's going to be a welfare trade-off where like there's going to be cut funding, but we have one. Our response is that there's actually a delink. We have backups that absorb the debt. Goldman 23 explains that bank reserves have excess reserves of 3 trillion, and the Fed's RRP has 2 trillion. So there's more than enough money to absorb the debt, which means that trade-off never happens. An example is a 2 trillion Build Back Better plan that proves. And most importantly, they have not read an existential implication of any of the turns on case. Now onto ours. The most important is the politic advantage. At the top, we have 4 ways that extinction outweighs. The first is that it's irreversible, which means it can only happen once, i.e., we should devote all of our resources to preventing it so we can actually function as a human race in the long term. 2, it's infinitely scalar because if the human race dies, then there can be no future generations born, meaning that extinction infinitely outweighs their impact on scope. 3, oftentimes the policies we choose to implement and the ethical frameworks we want to use take long, nuanced debates to decide over. The only way to make the correct decision for the future is to prevent extinction now. And 4, extinction precludes all their impacts from happening because if we all die, then there is no way we as humans can experience any of the benefits of the status quo or impacts from their case. Now, Biden is losing the polls right now. He needs to cancel student loans in order to gain more support. Key to winning, 27% of voters said they wouldn't vote for him. More than 6 out of 10 voters support cancelization. Otherwise, Trump wins, which is horrible for the climate and pulled out of the Paris Climate Agreement and wants to cancel other climate positive resources. And if Trump wins, there's just going to be horrible climate change by 2050. We plunge into a feedback loop of deadly conditions that cause resource wars, leading to armed conflict and trade extinction. He says his only response is that Israel stumps, but 1, there's no quantification and actual comparative as to how you should prefer a stumper. And 2, we've isolated that 6 out of 10 voters would vote for Biden. Now moving on to Wing. 1, if Trump wins, he would definitely cut welfare and a bunch more progressive programs than the status quo. 2, Turns case weighing is conceded. Climate change causes resource wars due to a try or die situation for resources, which outweighs domestic economic collapse on scope and time frame because he doesn't give a time frame for his econ collapse. But our evidence is 2050 climate change. Now onto their case, he has conceded the fossil evidence and Diggler evidence that said that if the current generations re-enroll into college, then future generations will be more motivated to actually finish the degrees, which turns case because it means that there's a net benefit of more people attending college and getting degrees, which insulates the economy from an economic collapse as we have more educated, higher paying jobs that fuel the economy rather than huge job shortage. Across absolutely their second subpoint because the fund is in fact defense against credit collapse. Clearly for these reasons, judges affirm. Thank you.
All right, I'll take running prep starting. All right, like 55 seconds. Order's gonna be starting on their overview. Yeah. Gonna be starting on their overview, then like weighing than my case than weighing. I'll signpost. Coming out of summary, they have cold conceded two things. First, they conceded the uniqueness that SAVE is solving back for everything right now. And two, they've conceded the Carvalho 23 evidence that says that Biden's already solving back for student loan forgiveness right now. And they conceded the turn that affirming is going to detract from things because it's that affirming is going to detract from things because when we spend all this money on blanket student loan forgiveness and none of it goes to the none of it is going to go to the income-driven repayment programs, all that happens is that the entire situation is just going to get worse. What this means is that it turns their advantage because one, if we win a risk on our case that the neg world is going that the app world is going to be worse. It causes people to vote against Biden because he's just killing off the programs that are meant to actually help people But secondly, it non-uniques their entire case insofar as everything's already being solved back for everything's being solved back for right now. Being solved back for right now. It uplayers like all the way because it short circuits all of it. So you're voting for us off of that. On our case specifically, you're going to be voting for raising the roof. When the United States federal government forgives all federal student loans, it scares all the banks because the banks no longer know if their loans are going to be insolvent. What this means is that they're going to be extremely encouraged to make loans, one, harder to get, and two, way harder to pay, and two, they're going to hike the interest rates in order to make sure that people get the loans back, make sure that the loan is paid back on time. They extend this one response saying that more people going to college somehow implicates against this. No, it doesn't. There's literally no warranting here. Two, this prereqs everything talking about more people going to college because if the banks are going to if the interest rates rise on loans and they still concede that people are going to be taking out loans even if it's perceptual in the future because it's a one-time thing, that means that less people on net are going to go to college, and that's a reason to vote for us. Yeah, that's still a reason to vote for us. On the on the advantage again, they say that like I don't implicate the thing. Well, no, yes I do. Look at the evidence. It literally says that one, the youth voters are being disillusioned, and two, other groups that normally wouldn't be disillusioned with Biden are being disillusioned by Biden over something else completely. The implication is really clear. Even if the youth voters still would have wanted to vote for Biden because of his stance on student loan debt, of canceling student loan debt, they would just vote against him because of his stance on Israel. That's literally what the evidence said. That's what I said in rebuttal. Don't let them get away with just blippily saying that it's not going to happen. Easy neg ballot.
You for man.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Can I get first? Or Victor, do you have a question, or should I?
Hold on, give me this. You can go first.
Okay, sure. Okay. Okay, we can start on like the SQO solves turns. You say that if the SQO solves, it dumps the politics advantage, but when okay, no. So I guess my question is, if like we buy your argument and in the alpha world in the long term it gets worse and that like that disillusions voters even more. When did this happen? Like, when's the time frame on this argument?
The entire time frame is that because like you keep on saying that, oh, the SAVE plan doesn't work now because there's no funding, and you're using that as your uniqueness to say this is why people aren't voting for Biden because he's not solving the full issue. But because he's not solving the full issue. But the problem is because we're going to be detracting money from the SAVE program, meaning that it's still overstaffed, it's still underfunded. The problem is just going to get worse, and in the in the app world, things are still worse. Then the problem's not being solved in the status quo, and it's not going to be solved in the future. Can I take a question?
Yeah.
Sure. All right. So let's talk about the thumper, right? Even if you are a youth voter and you would have voted for Biden because of student loan forgiveness relief, doesn't the fact that you are more that doesn't your stance on Israel, wouldn't that impact it? Because now you wouldn't vote for him because of that, because of his association with it.
Yeah, so in summary, we stated that, like, first of all, our evidence says that 6 out of 10 voters would vote for him if we affirm. But second, there's like no quantification or actually like comparative as to why, like, how many students would like change their mind because of Israel. Like, there's no actual comparative.
No, it's not changed their mind. It's just they would stay it's just they would stay the same. The people who would like the people who the what I said in summary was that the people who are in the group of students who would have voted for Biden would no, people who would have voted for Biden for forgiveness now wouldn't have voted for him because of the Israel thing, making it terminally non-unique.
Yeah,
He's like
but
not
like,
getting elected. And no, no, and
did
there's
your
another
evidence say
group.
like how many students would? Like, sure, like one student might like not vote. Like I don't understand that because
Didn't get it
there's
didn't
no
give an
actual like
exact
numbers to
number,
it.
but it also introduced like a completely separate group, which was Muslim and Arab Americans. That's what's
Right, but
highlighted
like
in the
we like
card.
isolated 6 out of 10 voters.
Yeah.
Like what?
No, you said that
Like,
6 out of 10, you said that 6 out of 10 voters, like 6 out of 10 voters support student loan debt forgiveness. Does that necessarily mean that they
no,
would
no,
vote for
6 out of 10
Biden
would
for it?
vote for him if we
I
if we
heard
affirmed, right? So
I
Well,
like
that's it.
I
You can do
heard
that.
I heard 6 out of 10.
Wait,
I heard six out of
the evidence says
okay.
otherwise, but that's fine. I
Uh
guess we
it's
can
your
take
question.
a quick question, I guess, on this. Um, Actually, you have one. I don't really have one.
No, it's like 5 seconds left.
Yeah, sure. I'll just like.
all right.
Okay, we're out of prep. The order is gonna be politics, weighing, Squo solves his case of time. Is anyone not ready? Biden's losing the polls right now. Needs to cancel student loan debts in order to gain more support. Key to winning. 27% of voters said they wouldn't vote for him. More than 6 out of 10 voters support cancellation. Otherwise, Trump's been horrible for climate and pulls out of PCA and wants to cancel other climate positive reforms. Otherwise, climate change by 2050 we plunge into a feedback loop of deadly conditions, causes resource wars, leading to climate and armed conflicts and triggers extinction. The only on-case response is that, oh, youth voters are disillusioned, but he has conceded the strength of link weighing. Our evidence is very specific. It said that 6 out of 10 voters would vote for him if you were to affirm. His evidence is super vague. It introduces two different groups. It doesn't actually do the comparative analysis like our evidence does. You always look to our evidence before his, insofar as our evidence is actually specific. At that point, you can extend extinction on ways that's irreversible. You can only happen one. It also precludes all of its impact. The weighing that was conceded out of summary was the fact that if Trump wins, he will just cut out of all the progressive status quo programs like SAVE and anything else working right now. That is crucial because if he's cutting out of welfare programs and SAVE, if you lose and it doesn't, then either way, SAVE is going to be cut. At that point, politics is simple. You can go to the Squo stuff. Even if you don't buy the weighing, which definitely triggers before even if you don't buy that elections happen before his impacts off the turns, we would say that it's about voter perception insofar as voters don't value SAVE as much as they would universal forgiveness. Then even if you buy that SAVE is better than universal forgiveness in the long run, it's probably not enough in the short term. And insofar as we affirm now, they'll vote within the next 11 months, which definitely triggers before his Squo solve stuff. Look, you don't have a terminalized number or time frame as to when the Squo solve stuff or the turns on the trade-off trigger. You know that universal forgiveness is a perceptual argument. Insofar as it's perceptual, we have made claims that 11 months is a short enough time frame to where voters won't get disillusioned from SAVE being bad. All we need is a Biden win in the short term. They can lose everything. They can do everything else insofar as they have conceded that climate change is the most important argument in the room.
I'll take burning prep starting now. All right. Orders. My case, Squo solves, weighing. Yeah.
Wait, where are you rejecting the dissad or the politics?
The advantage.
Yeah,
Like
sorry.
that's with the weighing.
Okay.
Yeah. Voting for raising the roof. They don't extend any responses. When the United States federal government forgives all federal student loans, the banks get scared, meaning that they're one, going to make it way harder for people to actually get a loan, and two, they're going to hike the interest rates to make sure that people pay them back on time. They conceded the prereq that this means that people don't go to college in the present or in the future, meaning that it doesn't, that we don't have, that people aren't going to college in the present or in the future, which short circuits their argument. But specifically on okay, let's talk about Squo solves. They say that the time frame that in 11 months people are going to vote. We trigger way before that, because when we affirm, we already take the money away from the existing programs, meaning that people are more disillusioned with Biden because the status quo efforts are not doing enough, and we're already winning a risk of offense on our case, and they conceded the implication that if we win a risk of offense on our case, and they also conceded the turn that the status quo is also working right now, then we win because in both the short term and the long term, in the short term and the long term, everything's going to be much worse. The voters are going to be disillusioned with Biden now the moment you affirm, meaning that there's even more of a chance that Trump's going to get elected, which short circuits their case, because Biden's just which either at the best for them, it non-uniques their case because Biden's just never getting elected, meaning that there's no offense there, or two, they conceded the short circuit weighing, saying that if this uniquely affects Biden's chance of getting elected and makes it worse, then we're winning a bigger risk of linking into their case because of Biden's actions when it comes to student loan debt. It also uplayers all of the weighing. We access all of the weighing because we're going to be triggering that weighing on a way faster time span and with a better link because it happens way before theirs. Like, it's pretty simple. Risk of offense on our case, said that in summary. They conceded it. No response is extended on it. The implication was conceded. If we win a risk of offense, we win the round because of the fact that save plans conceded. The save turns conceded. We detract funding. Everything gets worse. It's an easy neg ballot.
Good round.
Good round.
Good round.
Just to check, we're disclosing, right?
Do we disclose or does it happen at awards?
I'm fine disclosing.
I think
What do the other judges think?
I'm fine disclosing as well.
Okay. Cool. So I'm assuming someone will get the last decision.
Sean is
Yeah, y'all can leave. We didn't get to see the panel's decision.
Oh,
They turned it off, so
Oh.
they are the only ones who know it.
Oh, what?
Wow.